House Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi joins me now. Speaker Emerita Pelosi, it's very good to see you. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Nice to see you. Thank you. It was wonderful to see you focus on the law enforcement, because they were obviously our heroes. Thank you.
Absolutely. We've interviewed all of them and met with them, and they were in the court, in the overflow room, watching 3 out of the 4 gentlemen who had been testifying early and present for all of the January 6th hearings. I want to get your reaction to the history we saw unfold yesterday. A former president of the United States pleading not guilty over an alleged conspiracy to overturn the 2020 election while he was still leading the country. And according to his own lawyer's admission last night on television, he did, as charged in the indictment on page 34, pressure his vice president, in real time on January 4th, to pause the count, send it back to the states, even though John Eastman, one of the alleged co-conspirators, unindicted co-conspirators, I should say, said at 11:45 p.m. on January 6th in an email to the vice president's counsel that this would be a, quote, minor violation of the Electoral College Act.
Mm-hmm.
Your view?
Well, as I have said, this is heartbreaking for the country. It leads me to a very prayerful time as we say, God bless America, to really bless America with people having an openness to receive the truth. The focus, as I mentioned, thank you, Officer Dunn and the others. I hear from them, and there's just, they want the truth to come out. Here they are still protecting the people who voted against accepting the Electoral College results, because they're professionals, because they're patriotic, because they do their jobs. So to see the President of the United States be arraigned, it was interesting to hear Mr. Dunn talk about how it felt for him in the courtroom. When I wasn't in the courtroom, of course, but when I saw his coming out of his car and this or that, I saw a scared puppy. He looked very, very, very concerned about the fate. Look at that. I didn't see any bravado or confidence or anything like that. He knows the truth, that he lost the election, and now he's got to face the music.
Do you agree?
Very proud of the January 6th committee, which laid the foundation, created a path for us to get to this place to seek the truth.
And we have interviewed a number of the members, as well as Tim Hathey, who was one of the lead counsels. They really created the playbook, the roadmap for Jack Smith, who came into this not until November. But do you agree with many of your colleagues that the Trump federal court proceedings should be televised, which would have to be a decision by the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court?
Well, I think that's really up to, I've had conversations about this. I just don't know. I would leave that up to the Justice Department. I don't give them advice. I could make the argument either way. But the letter is a very powerful one about why it should happen. I think we leave that up to the Justice Department, and as you say, that would be the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court beyond the Justice Department. But I think the point is right now that we just have clarity, we have a respect for the legal process, and that is one of the sins of Donald Trump, is that he has disrespected the rule of law and the judicial process in our country. That's just not right, because that is a very important pillar of our foreign policy. And not our foreign policy only. I say foreign policy because as we go into other countries, we make judgments about their rule of law. So it's a very important part of our democracy and a judgment we make about others' democracy.
How do you feel about the push by the House Republicans? Many of them, the Speaker has certainly, flirted with this idea of impeachment proceedings against, President Biden because of unfounded allegations that he was involved with his son Hunter's businesses. And as you well know, as you were very cautious about starting impeachment proceedings for the very reason that once you start in a special committee or the Judiciary Committee, it's very hard to stop that process.
Well, with all due respect to your question, this is frivolous. This is a diversionary tactic. They just can't stand the fact that we had a job report of over nearly 200,000 jobs today, that unemployment is 3.5%, that 18 straight months of unemployment being under 4%. We're talking about 13.4 million jobs created with Joe Biden in the White House and working with the congressional Democrats. They have to change the subject, and they have nothing to offer the American people in terms of jobs and the rest. They talk about it, but then they change the subject when it's time to deliver. I'm so proud of the Democrats in the Congress. We fully intend to take back the House the next time so we don't have to deal with the frivolity, the waste of time of the Congress for them to go down this path. It's really sad. I wish the Republican Party somebody would take it back, that we'd have a real Republican Party. It's up to them to decide what it is, but it shouldn't be a cult. It shouldn't be a cult to somebody frivolous with the law and his puppets.
Is there anything in terms of procedure that House Democrats can do to stop it from happening if they decide to vote for starting the impeachment process?
Public sentiment. If they want to put their members who are in difficult districts, subject them to that, bring it on. Just bring it on. It's not going to go anyplace. They can't, they're going to undo the other impeachments. They can't do that. But they can talk about it. But do you understand that they have done nothing in the time that they have been there to meet the needs of the American people? Now, they have a big diversion. They have their hero being arraigned. Something so sad for our country. You think they'd be prayerful or thoughtful or patriotic, but instead they want to change the subject. But in any case, let's, push that aside. The fact is we have a great president who's doing a great job. They can't stand that, so they have to come up with some gimmick. On the other hand, right now, this greatest country that ever existed in the history of the world has a person who tainted the office he served in. The allegations are allegations, innocent until proven guilty.
Well, we heard today that part of the defense strategy. I'm sorry about the satellite delay. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just was going to ask you about the defense strategy, which is clearly to try to delay and to try to push this trial and the other trials till after the election if he's the nominee, where he could then stop the process.
Yeah. Well, because he's afraid of the truth. But let's leave that up to, I think we should have to be a little calm, a little prayerful, loving our country as we all do, and instead of having this back and forth publicly about delay and that, there are certain options that are available to a person who has been arraigned. But that's up to the judges to decide. But it's not up to the arraigned person to say the justice system is not on the level, Let me just say this. The January 6th committee, I'm very, very proud of the work that it did. As you probably recall, we were having a movement to have a bipartisan outside commission. We thought that would be the right path to take. We passed it in the House because we had the Democratic majority. In the Senate, they need 60 votes. And we thought we had that. We had an agreement with some of the Republicans, Susan Collins and others in the Senate. with equal membership, equal staffing, equal money, equal subpoena power, and the rest, just to be able to have this joint commission outside the Congress. When the vote came, instead of the 13 votes they had, it was 56. They maybe have had 57 if somebody was present who couldn't be. But the reason it failed is because Mitch McConnell went to the members and said, do me a personal favor and vote against this. People said to him, do you think Nancy's going to let this fail? Stop? No. So we had to form our own House bipartisan committee. They did excellent work, probably one of the best achievements in terms of a committee of that kind in the history of our country. And they have laid the foundation, created a path for the Justice Department to have the data. This is all about the facts and the law. It's up to them then to take they took a couple of the recommendations of the committee in terms of the charges against the former president of the United States.
We're going to have to leave it there. Speaker Emerita, Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.